Spain's story is etched in silver. It's a tale that glitters across millennia, held in the palm of your hand as a small, cool disk of metal. Before Spain was even a notion, before the grand cathedrals and bustling cities we know today, this land, known as Iberia, was a treasure chest waiting to be opened. Its hills were rich with silver, a metal that seemed to capture the very light of the Mediterranean sun. This precious metal would become the lifeblood of its people, the catalyst for trade, conflict, and the very foundation of empires. The journey of Spain's silver coins is not just about money. It is a journey through the soul of a nation, reflecting its art, its beliefs, and its incredible global reach. It's a story of how a simple piece of silver could connect a farmer in a remote Iberian village to a merchant in a far-off land. Imagine a time long, long ago, around 2,800 years in the past. The Iberian Peninsula was a patchwork of different cultures and tribes. People here didn't use coins for their daily transactions. Instead, they bartered. A farmer might trade a sack of grain for a beautifully crafted ceramic pot, or a herder might exchange a healthy sheep for a strong metal tool. This system worked well for local communities, built on trust and direct exchange. But as the world began to open up, as great ships sailed across the sea, a new idea arrived on these ancient shores. It was an idea that would revolutionize everything. The concept of a coin, a standardized piece of precious metal, guaranteed in its weight and purity, that everyone could trust and use. This revolutionary idea didn't spring from Iberian soil itself. It was carried on the winds and waves by intrepid sailors from the east. These were the Phoenicians, the master traders of the ancient world. They came from a land we now call Lebanon, their ships laden with exotic goods like glass, purple dye, and finely woven textiles. They were searching for raw materials, and Iberia was a land of legend, a place whispered to be overflowing with metals, especially silver. When these traders arrived, they brought with them the first coins the people of Iberia had ever seen. These small, stamped pieces of silver were a revelation. They were portable, durable, and held a value that was recognized far beyond the local village. The arrival of these first coins planted a seed in the minds of the Iberian people. It was a powerful seed of commerce, ambition, and connection. The gleam of silver was more than just beautiful. It represented a new way of life, a new way of interacting with the wider world. It was the very beginning of a long and dramatic story, a story where Spanish silver would not only shape the destiny of the peninsula, but would go on to shape the entire globe. From these humble beginnings, when foreign traders first exchanged their strange stamped metal for local resources, an epic journey began. It was a journey that would see Iberia transform from a collection of tribes into a cornerstone of a global empire, all powered by the enduring allure of silver. The first people to truly introduce the magic of coinage to Iberia were the Greeks. Following in the wake of the Phoenicians, these adventurous Hellenic traders and colonizers saw immense potential in the peninsula's shores. Around 600 BC, they founded a remarkable trading post on the northeastern coast of what is now Catalonia. They called it Emporion, which beautifully translates to trading place. Emporion was more than just a settlement. It was a vibrant, multicultural hub, a meeting point of Greek and Iberian worlds. Here, in this bustling port town, the very first coins were minted on Spanish soil. These weren't just any coins, they were exquisite silver drachmas, crafted with the artistic skill for which the Greeks were famous. These early Greek coins from Emporion were objects of great beauty and meaning. One of the most common designs featured the head of a nymph, a mythical nature spirit, her hair intricately styled. This was a symbol of beauty, nature, and the divine. On the other side, the coin often showed a Pegasus, the mythical winged horse. This powerful creature symbolized freedom, speed, and a connection to the gods. For the people of Iberia, who had never seen such things, these coins were mesmerizing. They were not just pieces of money. They were miniature works of art that told a story. People trusted them because the Greeks, known for their advanced civilization, guaranteed their weight and the purity of their silver, making trade predictable and fair. While the Greeks established their mint at Emporion, the Phoenicians and their descendants, the Carthaginians, also left their mark on Iberia's burgeoning monetary system. From their powerful city of Carthage in North Africa, they established colonies in the south of Iberia, like Gadir, which is modern-day Cadiz. They too minted silver coins to pay their armies and to fuel their vast trade network. Their coins looked very different from the Greek ones. They often featured the head of their god, Melkart, whom the Romans later identified with Hercules, or a war horse and a palm tree, symbols of their Punic heritage and military might. These coins spread throughout southern Iberia, introducing a different style and a different system of value. The presence of these two powerful cultures, the Greeks in the north and the Carthaginians in the south, created a fascinating landscape of money. Two different types of silver coins were circulating, each with its own designs, its own weight standards, and its own cultural story. This was a period of learning and adaptation for the native Iberian tribes. They saw how these stamped pieces of silver could simplify trade, pay for soldiers, and store wealth. They watched, they learned, and they began to understand the power that was locked within these small, glittering discs. This foreign influence was the spark that would soon ignite Iberia's own creative fire, leading to the birth of a unique and vibrant local coinage. Inspired by the Greeks and Carthaginians, the native peoples of Iberia, the Iberians and the Celtiberians, began to take a monumental step. They decided to create their own money. This was a hugely significant moment. Minting your own coins was a declaration of independence, a statement of power and identity. Around the 3rd century BC, a wave of minting activity swept across the peninsula. Dozens of local tribes and towns began to produce their own silver coins, primarily drachmas and their smaller divisions. These were not simple copies of Greek or Carthaginian money. Instead, they were a beautiful fusion of foreign ideas and deeply local traditions, creating a style that was uniquely Iberian. The designs on these native coins are absolutely captivating and give us a window into the soul of these ancient people. Instead of Greek nymphs or Carthaginian gods, the Iberians stamped their coins with images that were meaningful to them. A very common design was a male head, often depicted with a stern expression and distinctively Iberian features. This was likely a representation of a heroic ancestor or a local chieftain, a symbol of the tribe's strength and lineage. On the reverse side, a horseman was a frequent motif. This horseman, often shown brandishing a spear or a palm branch, represented the warrior spirit and the nobility of the Iberian tribes, who were renowned for their skilled cavalry. What makes these coins even more special is the script. Alongside the images, the Iberians engraved the name of their tribe or town in their own unique writing system. This Iberian script, a mix of alphabetic and syllabic signs, is a puzzle that historians have worked hard to decipher. Seeing their own language on their own money must have been a source of immense pride. It transformed the coin from a simple tool for trade into a symbol of their community, their culture, and their autonomy. When a member of the Ilergets tribe held a coin bearing the name of their city, Iltirta, they held a piece of their identity in their hands. It was money that spoke their language. The trust in these coins came from the community itself. People used them because they were made by their own leaders, from silver mined from their own lands. This local silver was a guarantee of value that everyone understood and respected. It allowed for more complex economies to develop. A farmer could sell his surplus olives for silver coins and then use that silver weeks later to buy a new plow from a blacksmith in a neighboring town. This wasn't just about big trades with foreign merchants anymore. Silver coinage was now woven into the fabric of daily life, making society more dynamic, more connected, and more prosperous. It was Iberia's own silver, for Iberia's own people. The vibrant era of native Iberian coinage was destined to be transformed by the arrival of a new unstoppable power, Rome. The Romans came to Iberia in 218 BC, initially to fight their bitter rivals, the Carthaginians, in the Second Punic War. But what started as a military campaign soon turned into a full-blown conquest. Over the next 2 centuries, the Roman legions marched across the peninsula, subduing the proud Iberian and Celtiberian tribes. As Rome's control tightened, so did its control over the economy. The diverse local coins, with their unique horsemen and Iberian scripts, began to disappear, replaced by a single, powerful, and universal currency, the Roman denarius. The denarius was the silver workhorse of the Roman Empire. It was a coin of remarkable consistency and quality, trusted from the misty shores of Britain to the desert frontiers of Syria. When the Romans brought it to Iberia, which they renamed Hispania, it was more than just new money, it was a tool of unification and control. By making the denarius the standard currency, Rome bound Hispania's economy tightly to its own. Local taxes had to be paid in Roman coins, and Roman soldiers were paid in denarii, which they then spent in local markets. This forced everyone, from a wealthy merchant to a humble farmer, to adopt the Roman system, gradually erasing the old monetary identities. To supply their vast armies and run the administration of the new provinces, the Romans established major mints right here in Hispania. The peninsula's legendary silver wealth, which had first attracted the Phoenicians, was now systematically exploited by Rome. Cities like Taraco, which is now Tarragona, Emerita Augusta, now Merida, and Caesar Augusta, now Zaragoza, became important centers of coin production. These mints churned out millions of silver denarii. The designs on these coins were pure Roman propaganda. One side featured a portrait of the reigning emperor, a constant reminder of who was in charge. The other side would celebrate Roman military victories, showcase gods and goddesses from the Roman pantheon, or depict grand building projects. This complete overhaul of the monetary system had a profound impact. While it marked the end of native Iberian coinage, it also integrated Hispania into the largest and most sophisticated economic zone the world had ever seen. A silver denarius minted in Merida could be spent without question in Rome itself. This standardization fostered immense economic growth. Roads were built, cities flourished, and trade boomed, all lubricated by the steady flow of Roman silver. For nearly 500 years, the Roman denarius was the undisputed king of coins in Hispania, a silver symbol that truly embodied the power and endurance of the Roman eagle. As the Roman Empire crumbled in the 5th century AD, a new group of people swept into Hispania and took control. These were the Visigoths, a Germanic tribe who had served as allies of Rome before establishing their own kingdom. Their arrival marked a new chapter for the peninsula and its money. The highly organized and centralized Roman system of coinage collapsed. The great imperial mints fell silent, and the once universal denarius became scarce. The Visigoths brought their own traditions, and for them, the most prestigious metal was not silver, but gold. Their kings wanted to emulate the grandeur of the late Roman and Byzantine emperors, and that meant minting splendid gold coins. The primary Visigothic coin was the gold tremises. These small but beautiful coins were a powerful symbol of the new ruler's sovereignty and Christian faith. The designs were a fascinating blend of Roman and Germanic styles. Early Visigothic kings would put their own names and crude portraits on the coins, but they were often modeled on the coins of the Byzantine emperor in Constantinople, a sign of respect for the old imperial tradition. As their kingdom matured and they converted from Arianism to Catholicism, a new and powerful symbol began to appear on their coins, the cross. This cross was a clear declaration of their identity as Christian kings, ruling a Christian kingdom. While gold was the star of the show, silver did not disappear entirely. The Visigoths did mint some silver coins, known as silicoin, but they were much rarer than their gold counterparts. The economy had changed drastically from Roman times. Long-distance trade had declined, and life had become more localized and agricultural. For many everyday transactions, people likely returned to bartering, or they used the old worn Roman silver coins that were still in circulation. The new Visigothic silver coins were not produced in the same massive quantities as the Roman denarius. They were likely used for specific payments, perhaps by the church or by the royal court, rather than for daily commerce among the general population. The Visigothic period, lasting for about 300 years, represents a sort of monetary interlude. The vast, silver-based economy of Rome was replaced by a more fragmented system dominated by royal gold. The glimmer of silver was still there, but it had taken a back seat. These rare Visigothic silver coins, often featuring a cross and the king's monogram, are precious survivors of a transitional age. They tell a story of a kingdom forging a new identity in the ashes of the Roman world, a kingdom that valued gold as a symbol of its power and God, while silver waited quietly in the wings for its moment to return to the forefront of Spanish life. In the year 711 AD, another dramatic change swept across the peninsula. An army made up of Arab and Berber Muslims crossed the Strait of Gibraltar, and in just a few short years they conquered most of the Visigothic kingdom. They established a new realm they called Al-Andalus, and with them, they brought a completely different culture, religion, and monetary system. Gold remained important, in the form of the dinar, but honestly, it was the reintroduction of a major silver coin that had a huge impact on daily life. This coin was the silver dirham. Under the Umayyad Caliphate of Cordoba, the mints of Al-Andalus began producing these beautiful silver coins in vast quantities, revitalizing the silver-based economy. The Islamic dirham was a work of art, but of a very different kind from the Roman or Greek coins. Islamic tradition discouraged the depiction of human or animal figures, considering it a form of idolatry. So, instead of emperors or mythical beasts, the dirham was covered in elegant and intricate Arabic calligraphy. The script was really the star. These inscriptions were not just the name of the ruler and the mint location. They were declarations of faith. Typically, a dirham would carry verses from the Quran, such as, "There is no God but God," and "Muhammad is his messenger." The coin was a handheld testament to the faith of Islam, spreading its message with every transaction. The quality and purity of the silver dirhams minted in Al-Andalus, especially in the capital city of Cordoba, were renowned throughout the known world. They were so trusted that they became a major international currency, used by merchants from the North Sea to the heart of Africa and Asia. Vikings, who were prodigious traders and raiders, valued these coins highly, and hordes of Cordoban dirhams have been found buried as far away as Scandinavia and Russia. The name of the mint, Al-Andalus, and the date of minting were clearly written on each coin, creating a system of accountability and trust that transcended borders and cultures. The widespread circulation of the silver dirham fueled a golden age of commerce, science, and art in Islamic Spain. Cities like Cordoba, Seville, and Granada became some of the most advanced and prosperous in the world. Markets buzzed with activity, and the economy thrived, all powered by this reliable silver currency. For nearly 800 years, the dirham and its calligraphic beauty were a constant feature of life in a large part of the peninsula. It was a coin that not only served the economy, but also proudly proclaimed a rich and sophisticated culture, leaving a permanent and beautiful mark on Spain's long and complex silver journey. As the Islamic rulers reigned in the south, a new story was unfolding in the rugged mountains of northern Spain. Small Christian kingdoms like Asturias, León, Castile, and Aragon began a long and arduous process of pushing back. This effort, known as the Reconquista, lasted for centuries. As these kingdoms grew in strength and confidence, they began to do what all powerful states do. They minted their own coins. Initially, they produced small, crude silver coins called dineros, often imitating the designs of dirhams or old Roman coins. But as their power solidified, they developed their own distinct silver currency, which would come to define the monetary landscape of medieval Spain. The most important of these new Christian silver coins was the real, meaning royal. First introduced in the 14th century by King Pedro I of Castile, the real was destined for greatness. It was a substantial coin made of good quality silver, and it quickly became the standard for the burgeoning Christian kingdoms. The designs on the real were a powerful statement of Christian and royal authority, a direct contrast to the aniconic Islamic dirhams. One side would typically feature the crowned busts of the ruling monarchs, while the other side would display a complex coat of arms, combining the symbols of the different kingdoms, like the Castle of Castile and the Lion of Leon. These coins were a vital tool in the Reconquista. Kings needed to pay their soldiers, buy supplies, and fund the construction of new fortresses and churches. A stable and reliable silver currency was essential. The real provided that stability. As the Christian kingdoms expanded southward, their silver coins gradually replaced the Islamic dirham. When a city was conquered, one of the first acts was often to establish a mint and begin striking Christian coins. This was a symbolic act of possession, stamping a new identity onto the land. The cross and the crown on the face of the coinage declared that a new order had arrived. The trust in these coins was built on the authority of the king. The royal portrait and the coat of arms were the king's personal guarantee of the coin's weight and silver content. People used the real because they trusted the power of the crown. This currency unified the Christian kingdoms economically, paving the way for their eventual political unification. The silver real of the medieval Christian kings laid the foundation for Spain's future. It was the direct ancestor of the coin that would, in just a few short centuries, go on to dominate the entire world and change the course of history forever. In 1492, two world-changing events happened. The Christian reconquest of Spain was completed with the fall of Granada, and Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic, opening up a new world. This new world, particularly the lands of Mexico, Peru, and Bolivia, held a secret mountains made of silver. The Spanish discovery and exploitation of colossal silver mines, like the one at Potosí in modern-day Bolivia, unleashed a torrent of silver unlike anything the world had ever seen. To process this immense wealth, the Spanish crown created a magnificent new coin. It was a large, heavy silver coin worth 8 of the old reals. It was the Real de a Ocho, better known to the world as the Piece of 8. The Piece of 8 was a coin built for a global empire. It was large, thick, and contained a high and consistent amount of pure silver, weighing about 27 grams. Its design was iconic and projected Spanish power. On one side, it featured the coat of arms of Spain. On the other, it showed the Pillars of Hercules, the two promontories flanking the Strait of Gibraltar, wrapped in a scroll that read, Plus Ultra, meaning more beyond. This was a bold declaration that Spain's influence went beyond the known world, into the new one. The two globes between the pillars represented the old world and the new world, united under the Spanish crown. This coin was a masterpiece of political branding. Because of its reliable silver content and mass production, the Piece of 8 became the world's first truly global currency. It was the dominant coin for international trade for over 300 years. A Spanish Piece of 8 minted in Mexico City could be used to buy silk in China, spices in the East Indies, or slaves in Africa. It was legal tender in many countries, including the young United States of America. In fact, the American colonists valued it so much that they nicknamed it the Spanish dollar. The coin was so common that it was often physically cut into 8 small wedge-shaped bits to make smaller change. This is the origin of the old phrase, 2 bits, meaning a quarter of a dollar. The influence of the Piece of 8 on the modern world is staggering. Its design and name directly inspired the creation of the US dollar. The famous dollar sign, 8 dólares, is believed to have evolved from a shorthand symbol for the Piece of 8, representing the Pillars of Hercules and the scroll wrapped around them. The coin financed Spain's golden age, funding its massive armies, navies, and grand artistic projects, but it also caused massive inflation across Europe. For centuries, the Spanish silver coin was the engine of global commerce, the standard by which all other money was measured. It was more than a coin, it was an institution, a silver legend that connected the entire planet. The long and glorious reign of the real and the piece of 8 came to an end in the 19th century. Spain, like the rest of Europe, was modernizing. In 1868, to standardize its currency and join the Latin Monetary Union, Spain retired its old system and introduced a new coin, the peseta. The name peseta likely came from the Catalan word peseta, meaning little piece, a term that had long been used colloquially for coins. The peseta marked a new era. The designs changed, moving away from the old symbols of a global empire to reflect a modern nation-state. The first silver peseta coins featured a figure representing Hispania, reclining against the Pyrenees. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, silver pesetas were the backbone of the Spanish economy. There were large, handsome 5 peseta coins, often called duros, which were the direct descendants of the old pieces of 8 in size and value. Smaller silver coins of 1 and 2 pesetas, as well as 50 centimo pieces, were used for everyday shopping. These coins featured the portraits of the Spanish monarchs of the time, like Alfonso XII and Alfonso XIII. Holding one of these silver duros, you could feel a tangible link to the grand silver coins of Spain's imperial past. They were a familiar and trusted part of life for generations of Spaniards. However, the 20th century was a turbulent time for the world and for silver coinage. The 2 world wars and global economic instability caused the price of silver to rise dramatically. Soon, the silver in the coins was worth more than their face value as money. This made it unsustainable to keep using silver for circulation. Starting in the mid-20th century, and especially under the Franco regime, silver pesetas were gradually replaced with coins made from cheaper base metals like copper, nickel, and aluminum. The era of silver as an everyday currency, a history that had stretched back for over 2.5 millennia, was finally coming to a close. Silver was now too precious for the pocket. The final act for Spain's national currency came on January 1st, 2002. On that day, the peseta was retired, and Spain, along with much of Europe, adopted the euro. With this change, the story of Spanish silver coinage reached its end. The new euro coins are made of various metal alloys, but none of them are silver. Today, the only silver coins produced by the Royal Mint of Spain are special commemorative issues for collectors. These beautiful, non-circulating coins celebrate Spanish history, art, and culture. They are a fitting tribute, a final gleaming echo of a magnificent journey, a journey that saw Spanish silver travel from the hands of ancient Iberian tribes to the pockets of